Hey everybody, Steve here from the Illinois Recording Studio. Got an interesting video here today, and this one is being recorded mostly for a friend of mine who is interested in one of these two drums. But I'm going to do the video for everybody to see. These are two incredible Craviotto Timeless Timber Bird's Eye Maple drums from the original batches of Timeless Timber Bird's Eye Maple that Johnny got back in the late 1990, early 2000s, 1999 to 2000. These two drums are 5.5 by 14. They both have 24 karat gold hardware, both Bird's Eye Maple. They were both made by Johnny in 2007. Some of this wood, Johnny did the run with DW, distributed by DW in the early 2000s of 5.5 by 14s. But Johnny held back the cream of the crop shells for special projects. He did many of those as one-offs for me. And these two drums actually were different. One is one-off. The one on my right here was one-off for a particular individual, and the one on my left is one of a very small run of 4 drums that Johnny did for a Japanese dealer, which I'll explain both in a minute here. So these are, of course, solid maple, steam-bent Bird's Eye Maple, timeless timber, 600-year-old wood that basically sat at the bottom of Lake Superior before it was harvested. Johnny had the exclusive rights to this wood for many, many, many years. The wood is extremely hard and dense because of all the pressure that it was under for all those years and the degree of temperature being so cold. So the wood is very, very difficult to work with, but sonically it's incredible. There were even some people thinking about trying to get some of this wood and see if they could use it to make a violin that was better than a Stradivarius. But I don't know if that ever happened or not. But these snare drums are incredible. And there's a little bit of a difference between these two, but the difference is primarily visual, and that is they are both Bird's Eye Maple. But this drum on my left, which is number 2 of a small series of 4 drums that Johnny did for a Japanese dealer called Rock, R-O-C-K-N-I-N-N. And what's special about this drum is when you think about Bird's Eye Maple and you start to assign value to Bird's Eye for visual beauty, it depends on the density of the pattern on the Bird's Eye. And this drum is the 3rd most dense Craviotto Timeless Timber that was ever produced. And I own the first two, the number 1 and 2. This is from my personal collection, both of these are. But the density on this drum is just amazing. It's literally like buckshot. It's crazy. The drum to my right is also a fabulous drum. And it's got a nice bird's eye density, but it also has a little bit of a curliness. So it's kind of a quasi-curly bird, as Johnny used to call some of these. It's got a little bit of elements of both in it. So it's an exquisitely beautiful drum. Now, my customer is wondering about the sonic differences between the two. And what I mentioned was I didn't necessarily have a preference one over the other because of this reason. These drums are both made at the same time. They're both made from the same batch of wood. So these boards are all going to have basically the same density, etc. There's not going to be a huge variety. It's not as if you're comparing one drum that has a 600-year-old old-growth wood to a new, more modern drum where the wood is not nearly as aged. It's not going to be it's going to be night and day. So here, the differences are going to be much more subtle. There will be some differences because every drum, no matter what, has its own little unique qualities. But these two, I'm going to demonstrate them both side by side. The sensitivity is incredible. These things, the Craviotto Timeless Timber, are just insane. Ask anybody who owns one, they'll tell you. This particular one, has an Evans G1, so it's a medium coated head. This one has a Remo coated ambassador on it, so it's a medium coated head. Slight differences, but not much, not really worth commenting on. So I'll just do a little demonstration on these. Both of these drums actually are for sale from my personal collection. So if you wanted to inquire, you'd have to contact me at VintageDrums@AOL.com. But here's where we've got these tuned so you can get a sense for where the balance is. Okay, so we're pretty much right about the same pitch. Okay, so now we'll do a little comparison back and forth here. We tightened up those wires a little bit just to give you a little sense of differences when those wires are much, much tighter. It's just for comparison purposes, I don't think I'd play them this tight, but let's see. There's a little bit of a difference sonically here. This Evans G1 is a little bit different density-wise than a coated ambassador, but again, you get the general sense here. And now let's take these back down a little bit, and just for the sake of conversation, I'm going to take a second and crank these up so you get a sense for it at a much, much higher level of tuning, just in case you want to go there. I tune very high. Where it was tuned originally, when I just did the demo here, is around where I tune most of the time. But sometimes, sometimes I tweak it up a little more. Let's see where we're at now. All right, now this is going to be really cranked up there. Let's get this one, just so you get another sense of how it'll sound, because a couple of other things, if you want to use this 5.5 by 14, you think about the density of this wood, the hardness of this wood, it projects unbelievably. So, you crank this thing up a little bit, and that crack is going to go, man, you don't need any microphones on stage. Pretty close. All right, so here we go. Take the wires down a little bit, a little closer. Gotta balance it up a little bit more with the wires. So, to me, sitting behind here, the drum to my left, little bit drier, probably mostly due to the fact that that's that Evans 360 head. This one a little more wide open with the Remo coated ambassador, but you sort of get the drift. There's a great deal of similarity between these two. Each has its own personality, but it's not like they're going to be night and day in terms of differences to them. So, there you have it. And again, if you have any interest in either of these, contact me at VintageDrums@AOL.com. These are from my personal collection and not on our Reverb site. So if you're interested, let me know.